Hello everyone, how are you today? Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Education, and those who don't know me, I am Dr. Paramjeet. I am a consultant physician, cardiologist in Yashoda Superspeciality Hospital, Nehru Nagar, Ghaziabad, Delhi NCR, and this is my channel. Here I make videos about simplified medical explanation about the most common healthcare topics. What I do is I explain to you why you got sick and how you can get well in a very simple language. So there are many videos already present on my channel. Do check them out, browse through them, and if you like those videos, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon on my channel, as you can always share my videos to your fellows and friends and family. So guys, today I'm going to talk to you about how your body reacts to pathogens, how your body kills viruses, how your body kills bacteria. So there is an immune system. So we're going to talk about the immune system. Then why viruses are difficult to kill than bacteria. And lastly, we're going to concentrate on what are the ways in which your body tries to get rid of viruses. Any virus, be it H1N1, Zika, or even NIPAH, any virus, how your body tries to get rid of them, and why these viruses or these bacteria, they affect different types of cells, different organs, why they affect different organs. So all these have some or the other basic behind them. So today we are going to touch all these topics in very simplified language, and hope you like and enjoy the video. So stay tuned guys.
If you want to know about health and have health concerns, then subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. You'll be notified about all upcoming videos.
So before understanding how your body responds to a virus, you need to first understand how your body responds to a bacteria. And there is a huge difference between a bacteria and a virus. Any bacteria is a living structure, is a living organism who needs just a conducive environment to reproduce, to divide. But a virus is actually a non-living structure. It is just either a DNA or an RNA. It's a genetic material. It's basically just that. It's a piece of genetic material which is covered in a capsule, a capsid. This capsule has a lot of different antigens, and these antigens, these receptors, basically these receptors determine that which virus will affect which type of individual, and inside the individual, inside the organism, which kind of organ will be involved, because those viruses will practically enter all types of animals, all types of living creatures, but they can only attach and infect certain types of cells in whom the receptors match to each other, like a lock and key mechanism. So that's the reason why some viruses are only found in certain animals and some are found in humans. The reason why bacteria and viruses are evolving is because, as compared to us, our human evolution has taken thousands and thousands of years, while viruses and bacteria, they evolve and adapt in a very short time. That's why newer versions of bacteria, newer versions, newer replicated, mutated versions of viruses are coming along, and that's why there is a problem of new viruses, new vaccines, new strands every time. So let's understand. Whenever a bacteria infects, comes in contact with your body, what happens? The first line of defense is something called as innate immunity, and it has two parts. First are the barriers, something which will stop the organism pathogen before it even enters your body. And these barriers include, first is your skin, then your mucous membrane, which is present inside your guts, your mouth, your nose, then saliva, which has antibacterial elements, antibacterial enzymes, then even the tears and urine, their flushing action also helps us to remove a lot of bacteria, pathogens and other microorganisms. And even the acid present inside the stomach kills a lot of microorganisms. So these all basically are something like barriers. They act like physical barriers. They stop the microorganism to even enter our body. But assume if there is a problem and the microorganism has entered a body, the bacteria has entered the body, then the second line of defense happens inside the body. Inside the body there are cells. Cells are present all over inside the body as well as in the blood. So in the blood there are cells, white blood cells, red blood cells. These white blood cells are the guards, the basic defense, first line defense mechanisms, and these are again divided into two types. One are the phagocytes and other are the leukocytes. Phagocytes are further divided into many, but the basic function of these phagocytes is to actually go and eat any microorganism, any foreign substance which they detect. So they go out and eat the microorganism and kill them. So this is the role of any kind of phagocytes. These includes neutrophils, macrophages, eosinophils, dendritic cells, natural killer cells. All of these things are phagocytes. So these cause death of any kind of dangerous organism. Now the second type of cells are leukocytes. Phagocytes can be compared with soldiers in the battlefield. These soldiers are specifically going out and killing the bacteria, killing the enemy. So there are different types of enemies, so there might be different types of soldiers specializing in different weapons. So that's how our body has. Now, like I said, once we kill the enemy, kill the bacteria, we then report back to the high command, to the immunity center, where we have seniors, where we have T cells and B cells. These T cells are further of different types. One of the type is cytotoxic T cells. And these cytotoxic T cells are mass destructive cells. That means these cells are programmed to not only destroy the bacteria, the pathogen, the enemy, but also destroy the surrounding area. So that will even destroy the infected cell as well as the neighboring cells. So they can be compared to high artillery weapons like tanks or fighter planes. So they can actually go into the battlefield and bombard the area so that even the bacteria is killed and even the surrounding area is also damaged. So cytotoxic T cells are activated by these phagocytes, and there is something called as B cells. B cells, with the help of a certain type of T cell, helper T cell, they produce antibodies. Now antibodies are basically identification marks or something like a poison for specifically for that particular microbe. Antibodies act like poison as well as an identification mark. So what happens whenever next time these kind of enemies come again, microbes come again, your body, your blood will have a lot of antibodies for these kind of cells, and these antibodies will get attached to the antigen receptors present on the top of these microorganisms and kill them, or they will identify them so that the phagocytes can kill them very easily. So that's how our immunity works, while not just killing them, remembering them, and next time killing them more vigorously. Then obviously there has to be some suppressor cells, because this response needs to stop somewhere. So that's why there is a suppressor T cell. Suppressor T cell acts like controlling mechanisms who actually stops this destructive purposes. That okay, now it's enough, we don't have to destroy further property of the body, so it's enough, now we have won. So that's how the whole immune system of the body works. And one more thing, this B cells not just produces antibodies, they even keep memory cells. They become memory cells, and these memory B cells, they can actually remember these enemies for a very long time. and whenever in future these enemies come again, we will have a defense mechanism ready. So that's how our body actually kills the invading bacteria and any microorganism. Now let's discuss how viruses are different. Since viruses are non-living things, they basically need to get inside our cells to replicate, to multiply. So what happens once a virus infects us, it gets inside the cells with whom its receptors match. Some of the viruses match receptors of the brain, so they cause encephalitis like NIPAH virus. Some viruses match the respiratory system, so they cause respiratory problems. So that's how viruses attack different types of cells in the body. So what they do, they go inside the cell and they hijack the cell. They use the cell's machineries to multiply themselves, and therefore within a very short amount of time a lot of viruses, progenies, viruses are accumulated inside the cells, and eventually the cell will get fill up and then it will burst. It will burst, or the virus will disintegrate the cell membrane, and therefore they will spread to infect other cells of that organ. So that's how the virus spreads. This is basically a cycle, life cycle of virus, which includes virus entry, replication and shedding. There is one more thing, a very peculiar thing about the virus. Even if our defense mechanism kills these viruses some way or the other, which we will discuss in a minute, some viruses can go into latency. That means some viruses can hide within a cell either to evade the host cell's defense mechanism or simply because it is not in the best interest of the virus to replicate at this moment. Such virus who is in this latency is not producing any progeny, does not replicate and is inactive until there is a specific stimuli like stress, light, or sometimes something prompts it to activate. So viruses are different than bacteria, obviously. Therefore, out of all the mechanisms which we have discussed, there are three basic mechanisms by which our body attacks or kills the virus. The first is via cytotoxic cells. Like we said, T cells, cytotoxic T cells can kill the cell which is infected by the virus. And this happens why? Because see, ideally, normally when a virus infects a cell, it replicates inside the cell without the cell knowing it. So cells or the body does not know that there is a virus inside the body. But whenever there is a replication process, wherever there is something breaking down inside the cell, what the cell does, it takes some part of that breakdown proteins and it puts it out into the cell membrane for other cells to see that okay, I am doing this. This is something called as MHC class 1 display. So what happens once these MHC class 1 displays the virus proteins, these new proteins which were not there in other cells can be recognized by T cells, cytotoxic T cells, and can be killed. So these cells will be killed and therefore the virus containing cells will be destroyed and the body can control the virus. But viruses are highly adaptable and sometimes they develop a way to avoid detection by these T cells. Some of the virus even stop this indicator MHC molecule to show them on the cell surface to display these viral peptides. So if this happens, now this T cell doesn't know that there is a virus inside the infected cell. However, in such cases, there is another type of cell called natural killer cell. Now what happens, these natural killer cells, they identify these cells which have lesser amount of MHC molecules on the surface. So if the virus is showing these kind of features, natural killer cells releases its toxic substances inside the cell and kills the cell. So either ways, cytotoxic cells kill the virus infected cells and sometimes the surrounding areas are killed because of these enzymes, because anything which is done inside the body is done by enzymes and enzymes will cause reaction in the surrounding area. That's why, because of these enzymatic reactions, you have symptoms like fever, swelling, body ache, headache. All these things are reactions of your immune system. So first way of killing viruses is cytotoxic T cells because of the indicator MHC peptides of the virus particles. The second way of killing viruses is via interferon. Virus infected cells, they can produce and release proteins called interferons, and interferons play an important role against all types of viruses. They basically stop and prevent the replication of viruses and also signal other types of cells that there is a virus present inside these cells. So the neighboring cells, they increase their MHC molecules, and T cells can then come and destroy the virus infected cell in that area. So interferons do this also. The third way of killing the viruses in the body is by antibodies. So once these virus particles are shown on the top of the cells like MHC, and T cells come and destroy these cells containing the virus, what these T cells do, they signal the B cells to remember these virus particles and even make antibodies for these antigenic virus particles. Antibodies act like poison for these viruses, and these antibodies help killing the virus if ever in the future they come again into the body. So what they do is, firstly, antibodies attach to the virus surface antigen receptors and neutralizes the virus. This means that a virus which has been neutralized by antibodies will not be able to infect the whole cell, infect any cells further. Secondly, antibodies can actually work together, causing virus particles to stick together, causing agglutinations. It therefore becomes a bigger molecule and an easier target for the immune cells to kill these viruses. And the third is, antibodies, whenever they attach on top of these viruses, they activate phagocytosis. They activate and attract phagocytes, the first line of defense, and phagocytes can actually engulf these cells easily and kill the virus. So these three mechanisms are there for a body to kill viruses: once by a cytotoxic cell, second by interferon, and third by antibodies. So all these viruses are killed by either of these mechanisms, and there are obviously a lot of enzymes involved. So that is the way your body can kill most of the bacteria and viruses. But now, why do viruses become more and more virulent every time they change? This is because the viruses can mutate, and the mutation in viruses and even bacteria are very fast. Therefore, a newer version of virus comes up every time, and a body response starts from zero, and then we again build up immunity memory, be antibodies for these type of cells again and again and again. So that's why, that's all about the response of our body towards bacteria or viruses. That's how your body acts against all these things. I hope I made it clear at some level. So if you like the video, then don't forget to share the video, and do check out our other videos on our channel. And till next time, stay connected, stay healthy.